Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Steve Herman. I'm really happy that you're here. If you're interested in mediumship development, learning more about mediumship, unfolding your spiritual gifts, maybe you even work as a medium professionally or just on the side, you've come to the right place because the whole focus of this YouTube channel is spirit communication and mediumship education. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, smack that subscribe button. I'm going to just talk about dealing with skeptics. How many of you have dealt with skeptics before as a medium? So it's always good to be skeptical. And unfortunately, many people aren't very skeptical when it comes to spirit communication. They'll literally buy anything a medium says. And that's not a good thing. It's really not. Because if someone is unethical, or if someone's just completely deluded and they're working as a medium, they could tell something to anybody, anything to anybody, and it would be believed. You don't want to do that, do you? Because God's given us intelligence. God's given us a logical, rational mind for a reason, and common sense, hopefully. So we want to use that. And you especially want to use it when it comes to mediumship. Now, we know that we want to test the spirit world, and we also want to test the medium. So it's really important if you go for a session with a medium, not to give the medium any information. I always tell people, just like when you go to the zoo, they have signs, do not feed the animals. Well, I always say don't feed the medium. But as a medium, how do you deal with skeptics? Let's say you have someone who's, it's like the other way, the other extreme. They're not just gullible or going to listen to anything that you say, which isn't really a good thing either. But they really question everything you're saying. They don't believe anything. They don't accept anything that you're saying. I'll tell you this. The most important things, you have to trust the spirit world. And the spirit world will work with you. Now, obviously, much of this depends upon your attunement and your strong connection. I know that you have a strong connection with the spirit world if you're a medium. And that connection can always be stronger, which is why the education, the sitting for development is extremely important. But if you've got a strong connection, they will feed you the information to demonstrate to that individual facts and details, very specific information that will completely make that person who's skeptical at least consider that maybe their skepticism is misplaced. Now, sometimes the best evidence, it's not the evidence that an individual receiving a communication receives at the time they're having the session. It's really the way it works. Sometimes it's information the recipient goes, speaks to another relative or someone else, another party. Maybe at a later point, the information is somehow validated. Because the spirit world, it's not their job to prove anything to anybody. But when there's a higher purpose to actually touch an individual on a deep level and alter their way of looking at things, life after death, right? The immortality of the soul, their eternal spirit souls, right? Never has there been a time when we have not existed, and when we kick the bucket, we continue to exist. And I can think in my many years, decades of working as a medium, I've worked with all different types of people. I've worked with people who are very, 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 very open to it. They're enthusiastic, they're positive. They might not always understand how it works, but they're eager and open to spirit communication, and they bring in fantastic energy. And most importantly, there's a real need there. I've also worked with people who are very indifferent, who want things done their way. You'll get a lot of people like this if you're working as a medium. And I've also gotten people who are overly skeptic, challenging skeptic. Now, you might be challenging, you sit there with your arms like this. No, no, no. That doesn't really matter. Because when I'm working with the world of spirit, and this is really important for mediums to be able to do this, is you have to be just detached from the reactions of the person you're working with. The body language of the recipient, the facial expression of the recipient. You don't want to let that stuff affect you. You have to go to the spirit world. I mean, you obviously want to be concerned with the person. You're helping the person in front of you. But what they tell you verbally, you don't need to listen to that. You don't need to ask them questions. You really don't need to ask them for validation. Now, it's okay to say, hey, do you understand this? Because if they don't understand it, better that you try to bring in some type of clarification instead of waiting for the end. An hour later, they didn't understand something, and then, of course, you're not going to remember either because the information flows right into you and through you as you articulate it. So you have to give what you get, and you have to trust the spirit world 1,000%. I remember I was on first visit to New Zealand. I was on the Good Morning show, which is this major network primetime morning show. Good Morning, just like Good Morning America, but it's Good Morning New Zealand. And the host, her name was Mary Lambie, very, very skeptical. She's very much a celebrity because she was the host for the show. Everyone else there was fantastic, but when it got into the interview point, I mean, she was really trying to create some type of situation to make me look bad, so she could disprove mediumship, because she made it very clear that she didn't believe in any of it. She thought it was all a bunch of bunk. So I was able to handle that pretty well. But as a medium, you have to be able to handle that, because you could do a session for someone. It might be fantastic energy. You're completely accurate. And for one reason or another, they're still skeptical. They think you're a fraud. Maybe they even recognize all the accurate information. Oh my gosh, you've researched it on Facebook. You've hired a private investigator to find out information about me. I mean, people can be a bit nuts about this stuff. So you have to not let anyone dissuade you. You have to not allow anyone to affect you energetically. Your mind is what the spirit world works through. And your mind is what makes a really strong connection. So, those are some ideas that you might want to think about. I've got 2 books, Mediumship Mastery, The Ultimate Guide to Mechanics of Receiving Spirit Communication, on Amazon. And I've also got a new book, Mediumship Mastery 2 Advanced Techniques That Work. And both these books have lots of exercises, and they're really good for students and practitioners of spirit communication at all levels, novice, beginner, to those who've been doing this for decades, those who teach this. I'm really into helping others with their growth. I teach a lot of different programs. I do one-on-one individual mentoring, coaching. If you have questions about how this works, you can write them below. If you have any interesting stories, anecdotes to add, definitely subscribe to me, subscribe to this channel. And if you're working with your mediumship, develop where you can bring through solid evidence, where the content of what you're bringing through stands alone, stands strongly. So no one can just say, oh my God, this is a bunch of bunk. It was such a generalized reading. You could have said that to everyone. So God bless you, and thank you so much for watching this video.